Hey everybody, it's Deidre here. I can't really see exactly how many people are on, so I'm just gonna start talking and hopefully you guys can hear me. I am broadcasting live for Carnegie Hall's Musical Exchange from my home in Brooklyn, New York, on the East Coast. So hope everybody's having a good evening. It's kind of rainy here, but it's been a pretty good day, and I hope all of you guys have had a good day. Thrilled that you're joining me, and I hope a lot of you are entering the songwriting contest. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then go to the songwriting group on Musical Exchange and check it out, because it ends in a few weeks, and the winner gets their song professionally recorded in New York City and also performed live at a show. So it's pretty exciting. So for those of you who don't know me, and probably most of you do because I've been probably all over you with the comments and the feedback. And I've been loving listening to everything you guys have been putting out there. I think you guys have a lot of talent and you're really brave. So I'm just going to jump in. It's kind of weird to be talking to myself on a screen, knowing you're listening, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm just going to jump in here, and there's a question from, let's see. Ooh, okay, from Hannah Larson. This is about halfway down. What does it take to become an artist? That is a really loaded question, I think. I think it takes a passion, first of all, which all of you clearly have, or you wouldn't be doing this songwriting online project. For me, it's taken perseverance, for sure, and trying to balance things. Hang on, there was a question that was related to this. Let me just find it. It was about balancing. Oh, I wanted to start with this one actually. Sorry, I'm a little all over the place. First time doing this myself. From Deborah Raji, what usually inspires your music? What is your favorite instrument to play? What is your favorite instrument to hear? What gave you the confidence to pursue music as a career? This is a great opening question. So what usually inspires my music, and my music is kind of a mix of pop, jazz, and folk music, and I'm from Idaho, so I'm inspired a lot by where I'm from. Idaho has a lot of wide open spaces. It also has this beautifully majestic mountains. So I did a CD called Twin Falls. It was an all instrumental CD. It was just me and this electric bass player, and that was solely inspired by my home state of Idaho. I'm also super inspired by my friends, and that's why this music exchange is so awesome, because you guys are all, I'm seeing you all getting inspired by each other, and that's really the best way to approach things. I live in New York City. I'm lucky. I can go out of my house pretty much any night of the week, take the subway somewhere, and for $5 or for free I can see really amazing music, and I definitely take advantage of that. When I first moved here, I just invited people over to my house and we jammed, and that's how I really got started in the jazz and the songwriting scene in New York. And my friends always inspire me with their talent, and all of you guys are inspiring me currently and these activities as well. My favorite instrument to play is the piano. I'm a pianist by nature, and especially if it's a really good one. I had the good fortune once to go to this place in Italy called the Fazioli Salon, and Fazioli is a little known brand of piano, but it's really unique, and I got to meet the maker, and I got to play on these amazing pianos, and it was just a dream. Of course, when you're a gigging musician, you don't always have the luxury of playing a Steinway or a Fazioli. Sometimes you're playing, a piece of crap piano that is missing half of the keys. So that's not always so fun. But that's definitely my favorite instrument to play. My favorite instrument to hear just depends on the day. Some days I'm in more of a jazz mood. I want to hear saxophones and trumpets. Some days I want to hear ethereal voices. Just depends on my mood. Finally, she asked, what gave you the confidence to pursue music as a career? Uh, wow, that's a really good question. Again, I think my friends give me confidence to pursue music as a career. I think choosing to be a musician is very brave. You have to have a thick skin, and also you have to have a vulnerable heart. And so it's a strange combination of things. And you have to really be willing to stand up for your vision and what you believe in. So I have surrounded myself with people who build me up and don't tear me down. And I think that's super important, finding a team of people like you guys are finding on Musical Exchange. I'm hoping that you guys are forming friendships that will last you beyond this songwriting project, and that that can be a team of people to help build you up and give you confidence. And hopefully we're doing that for you guys too. Okay, so let's see. Next question. This one is from Kendra Bragg. Hey, Kendra. So cool to see all your guys' questions on here. When you were getting started, how did you balance commitments, work, school, etc., with pursuit of your dream? Sacrifices will have to be made for sure, but how do you determine what to sacrifice? Excellent question. And this is something that's really personal to me because 5 years ago, I had my first child, and 2 years ago, I had another child. So this is something that I feel like is a lifelong challenge. How to balance your commitments with your pursuit of your dream. And I've heard it said sometimes you have to work for your vision until your vision can work for you. So sometimes that means getting maybe a sort of a B job that's not your favorite job in the world, but you have to use it for a while to support your vision, like a lot of actors will waitress and things like that to support their acting and that kind of thing. And I do think in the beginning sometimes there is some of that. I think for me, I'm constantly reevaluating my life. I am a list maker, I'm making lists, but I think a good friend of mine suggested just starting every day with your priority. You know, if your priority is this Google Hangout, for example, this was my priority today. So I had a couple of piano students that I rescheduled for next week because I wanted to feel prepared and calm for this Google Hangout, for example. You know, I always ask myself, a year from now, what will matter? Will it matter? I think that's a good question in general when you're trying to figure out what to balance. And I don't like thinking of them as sacrifices so much. When I'm sacrificing things, I just like thinking that I am choosing one thing over another thing. As another example, my daughter was sick this morning, and you know, that's the priority for the morning. Like whatever I had planned just went out the window this morning because she was sick. And I don't want to think that I was sacrificing an hour of songwriting because my daughter was sick. I just want to think that this is the choice I'm making, and I'll make it up tomorrow, you know? And I think most of us as artists are pretty, I would think, in touch with ourselves. And you know when your life is out of balance. And then it's time to either sit down with a mentor or a friend or with yourself or get a journal and just start asking yourself, you know, what are my priorities? What do I really want? And see what you can move around to make that happen. So that felt like kind of a vague answer. I hope that answered your question. It's not, you know, only you can know for sure. But just know that you can do it. I mean, I have 2 kids and like a bunch of different jobs, and I'm still super happy, and I feel like I'm living the life I've always wanted. So it's definitely possible. All right, I'm going to take another question. These are all such awesome questions. From Ina, I hope I'm saying that right, Rennie. Was there a specific moment when you decided, I want to be a songwriter? Do you write strategically? Where did it go? There it is. In terms of which chord, song, topic, sequence is popular, or do you write what you feel? Was there a specific moment I decided I want to be a songwriter? I can't pinpoint one specific moment, but I kind of did this exercise today getting ready for this, which I thought would be really fun for all of you guys to do, which is to sit down with a list or a journal or something and just write down some of your seminal musical moments in your life. Um, I think that one of them for me was I started writing music pretty young. I think my first tune was, oh, I have a little keyboard here. I'll just play you the first song I ever wrote. I think I was maybe 7 or 8 or something. It's called Candy Cane Carousel. There's a candy cane carousel in Candyland. You get the idea. Pretty basic. But then I continued writing, and I think that was the first song I actually tried to write down on paper. I was taking piano lessons. But I wrote this song in junior high school, and it was also very simple. This is the Casio. Sorry. I'll never forget you. You meant so much to me. You always come back to me like a faded memory. That was like one of the first songs I really wrote. And what happened was there was a guy, I was in 8th grade, and he accidentally shot himself at a party. There was a loaded gun, and he died. And he was a star football player, and everybody knew him, and he was super nice. And I was in the choir, and I came into the choir, and I started just kind of playing that song, just really to comfort myself. And then people started gathering around the piano, and they wanted to hear it, and they were really using it as a way to help them grieve this person. And it was a moment that was really important for me because I realized the power a song can have to help other people deal with emotions, for me to feel things. And it was then I decided that, songwriting was something that I wanted to at least be a part of my life. And number 2, I always want my music to make people feel things. It doesn't have to be grief, or I like humor too. I like to write with humor, but I like to write things that feel very authentic and real. And then the person who had died's mother ended up hearing the song, and I recorded it. It was the first time I had recorded a song. My piano teacher helped me, and she was actually a very strict classical piano teacher, but very supportive of my popular music stuff, which it's important to find teachers that can support you. And I ended up meeting his mother for lunch because she wanted to thank me for the song, and it felt kind of awkward because how do you talk to somebody who's lost their child? And I didn't write the song necessarily for him, so I felt a little bit fake for a minute, and then I thought, no, she has personalized this song, and it means to her what it, a good song people will take and they'll interpret however they want. So I guess, whoa, that's my keyboard telling me, shut me off. So I guess that was the first time I really noticed the power that a song can have. And there have been other moments in my life where I've just, I don't know, I just love writing songs. That's kind of it. I even wrote a song recently about how I went to an audition for something that really wasn't right for me and realized the whole point of the audition was because I just realized I write songs because I like to write songs. I just kind of have to. It's part of my DNA. So moving on. Do I write strategically in terms of which chord, song topic, sequence is popular right now, or do I always write what I feel? Well, I'm a little bit different, a different songwriter, professional songwriter than maybe Mike, who was on the Google Hangout before, because he's always working with popular artists, things like that, where he needs to be writing of the moment and have his finger on the pulse of what's currently popular, and he's amazing at that. I do a lot of collaborating with different programs at Carnegie Hall, where it's a lot more about just kind of writing in the moment, from the heart kind of stuff. So whenever I sit down to write a song, I usually just write from my own perspective and whatever I'm kind of thinking of that day. I'm just going to jump over here. The first one I see is from George Cobbty. Did you install good working habits in yourself, or did they just arise? Ooh, these are so good, these questions. Did I install good working habits in myself? Whew, that's tough. Like I mentioned, I did have a pretty strict first classical piano teacher. And so I sort of feel like I was forced into some good habits in that she really demanded practicing. I've never been a huge, this is going to sound weird coming from, I don't know, I'm a teaching artist, but I've never been a huge practice for hours a day kind of person. Like I always kind of wanted to just have a social life and also practice, but an hour a day was really kind of my maximum. And sometimes I would be so stressed out going to my piano lessons, I would wish that I would fall out of the car and break my arm. I was like, I can't do it. On the other hand, she really was all about a little every day is better than 3 hours once a week. And then later, I ended up with a really great mentor. I've had amazing mentors. Like I would suggest to everybody out there, like this is going to be like a big answer to probably a lot of questions, is I've had great teachers, and I have also pursued great teachers. When I got to college, I did research on the teachers that I wanted similar, that had qualities that I aspired to take on, and I pursued them. And when I moved to New York, there was this sort of jazz pianist guru mentor guy, Kenny Werner, and he wrote a book called Effortless Mastery, which is a great book, actually. It's all kind of about meditation, and his whole concept was 5 minutes a day, or even just, putting your hand down on the keyboard and breathing and lifting your thumb and dropping it without any judgment whatsoever, getting your mind totally out of the way. And that really spoke to me. So when I'm teaching piano, a lot of times I'll just say, just get to the piano. Just get there. Because once you, or the guitar, or the whatever it is, your writing space, once you get there, you don't even have to do that much. I just say play one note. Just get there and play one note. And for me, I consider that a good working habit. Just doing a little but being really focused about it, as opposed to marathon practicing. And I'm not saying one way is right and one way is wrong. It's just worked for me. But I will say I've struggled with the good working habits thing, especially now. There's a million distractions for everybody. If you're in college, there's tons of classes. If you're like me, you have kids, there's tons of distractions there. So I still have to really get myself to do the good working habits and to find the best time for me. Like this time of night is great for me. I do some of my best work at night. So I've learned a lot along the way, but I would say just do whatever works for you and just try to do it consistently if you can. And then if you can't, just don't beat yourself up, because, I don't know, we're all human and we all have lives. What from Jeffrey W., and this relates to somebody else's question, which was, what do you do when you have writer's block? Jeffrey W. says, what do you do when you are stuck when trying to write songs or ideas? Excellent question, Jeffrey W., and also whoever asked about the writer's block. I don't know where that one was. But our fearless hostess, Yasmin, is coordinating. Can we just all give props to Yasmin? Woo, Yasmin! Yay, making it happen. Sorry. So what do I do when I have writer's block? I have a lot of techniques, and I actually have been kind of suffering from writer's block. I've been kind of stuck the last week or so, actually. Like I said, my daughter's been sick, and there's a million things. So I've been a little stuck. So this was good for me to revisit this question. The first thing I do that I just mentioned is I just go to my instrument without any expectations, which can be really hard. But if I can just go sit at the piano and kind of just say hello to it, and just say, hello, piano, how are you? And know that it's kind of like, I don't know, going on a date with someone but not really expecting anything out of it. You're just having coffee. There's no commitment here. We're just hanging out for a second. And then maybe I'll play something, or maybe not. Or like today I went to the piano and I opened an old writing notebook, and so that's another technique that I have. If I'm stuck, I just get out something old that maybe was like a little song baby that's been, put away or rejected or I hated 10 years ago, and just see if that inspires me to do something new with it. Or at least it might make me laugh. I was looking through some old notebooks today. The other thing is I always have notebooks around. I have like this drawer. I've got notebooks, notebooks. Here's another notebook. Here's another notebook. I like little notebooks. I should probably write a song called Tiny Little Notebooks. So um, I will either open an old one and read something, or I'll just write something down, the first thing that comes into my head. So another technique I have is try to write something bad. And I got that idea from Kenny Werner, actually, who was my sort of mentor for a couple of years. He just said, try to write one bad idea every day. And you'd be really surprised that some of those bad ideas, if you're trying to write, like one day I tried to write a super cheesy, I said, I'm going to write the most cliche, horrible thing. And I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. And it might make you think outside the box also. If you're still stuck, I would suggest easy does it. Maybe go outside, just give yourself a break. Change of scenery is good. I was recording with Natalie Merchant, and we were doing a song, and it was seemingly an easy song. When my only job was to play, I think literally this was my part, was to play like quarter notes. But for some reason the energy wasn't there. And she made us all go outside the studio and run around it. It was a barn or something. We had to like go run around the studio 5 times and come back and try it again. And I thought that was funny. But the energy was completely different when we came back, and we were kind of out of breath, and it was funny. And then, when we played it completely differently. So that might be good. Just go outside and see what you see. You could always go to Musical Exchange, pop into one of the activities, see if that inspires anything in you. Or you could just breathe. I think breathing is really underrated. Maybe not, because people are into yoga, but it's just good to sit and breathe and listen to the sounds outside. Listen to yourself. We're all so busy. And just see what comes up. If all else fails, what I do is I give myself a deadline. Because that will make me write if I have a deadline. So that's why these songwriting project things are really good. So June 4th is your deadline to submit your song for the contest. Just letting you know. I hope that was helpful. Here is one, totally changing course. I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute. From Zandy Holeup. Hey, Zandy. I would love more opportunities to play live in New York City, but I am sometimes unsure how to get the venues to give me the time of day. Haha. What are your suggestions? I'm only laughing because, Zandy, I feel you. I have been there. I think as a working musician, a lot of us have been there, where you want to get a gig, but everybody else in the city is wanting a gig in the same place, and nobody's emailing you back, and nobody's calling you. I have a couple of tactics that have worked for me with this. I think the first one that's worked for me is if there's a specific club you really want to play, go hang out there and just make yourself known to the people that work there. For example, there's a place in New York City called Rockwood Music Hall, and when it very first opened up, they were looking for artists to play because nobody knew what the space was. And so, of course, my band, I'm in a band called the Lascivious Biddies. It's an all-girl band, and we wanted to play there. So we went and played, and I met Ken Rockwood, who had opened the space. He's super awesome. He's really musician-friendly. And I just started hanging out there and kind of getting the lay of the land. I learned the sound person's name. I learned the bartender's name. You're probably all too young to be knowing bartenders' names, but you get the idea. Just show up and be invested and have your face shown. And then I would say the second thing is have a professional sounding demo. It doesn't have to be, Kelly Clarkson production style, but just something, like I've heard a lot of your guys' stuff on SoundCloud, and a lot of them sound really professional. Just something with very clean, clear vocals and clean accompaniments, so the person can really get a sense of what your style is like. Third, these are in really no particular order. I would say develop an elevator pitch. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically if you're stuck in an elevator, let's say, you know, with your icon, the person that you, I don't know, some of you guys like Ed Sheeran, for example. So let's say you're all of a sudden you're stuck in an elevator. You're riding up, you know, you're visiting somebody in LA and you're in the elevator with him and you start talking and you're like, "Oh, I'm a musician." And he says, "Oh, what does your music sound like?" Um, be able to answer that question. My band, the Biddies, we would go to festivals like South by Southwest and want to get, so this is not even just advice for venues, it's advice for, you know, how to get press and all this other kind of stuff, how to get bookings, how to get noticed. Um, we would basically have a pitch which was one sentence. They'd say, "Oh, who are you guys?" And we'd say, "Oh, we're a cocktail pop quartet, all girls. We sing four-part harmonies and we combine jazz, pop, and cabaret styles." And that was our elevator. That was like our, this is who we are in one sentence. Cocktail pop is kind of a genre that we coined to describe ourselves. So it's just good to know what your music's like, to know who you are. And then the other thing is to use the 3 Ps. Number 1, be persistent, because these people get millions of phone calls, and sometimes it's not personal, they just don't have time. So, you know, wait a little while, call back. If it's a bigger venue, you know, become friends with the secretary. Just so the second one is be professional. Just always be nice. That doesn't mean you have to work with jerks, though. I read this book called The Touring Musician by Hal Galper. And the first quote in there is like, never work for a-holes. Never work for them. There's just no point. So if you kind of are getting the sense that this venue is giving you a long no, just forget it and move on. But if it's someplace you really want to play, then just be patient. So be persistent, be professional, and just be patient. Have a nice way to describe your band, have a good sounding demo, show up, and more likely than not, you will get an opportunity. You could also maybe look for somebody to double bill with. That's work too. Like the Biddies, when we first played this venue, Joe's Pub in New York, we double billed with somebody who already had an audience, and that kind of got us in the door there. So that was nice. And, you know, sending a thank you card, handwritten, it's also never a bad idea. I'm old-fashioned, but anyway, hope that was helpful. So let's see. Hang on, where did my questions go? Sorry, guys, I just vaguely exited. All right. Hang on. Oh, hey, Bree Ray. She's a great songwriter. I met her in Salt Lake. How do you handle it when producers, mix master professionals don't keep their time commitments? People expect my music out on a specific date, and then it doesn't happen because of things are out of my control. Because of things out of my control, any suggestions? Wow, that's a complicated question. Well, I think number one, finding, if you're at the level that you are, finding a good lawyer slash manager to handle those conversations for you can be nice. On the other hand, just being honest also works. Like I heard there was an agency one time that I was pursuing. It was a PR firm, actually. And Rufus Wainwright was also a member of this PR firm. And I had heard that, you know, just because you sign up for something expecting people to help you doesn't mean you shouldn't be involved. In fact, sometimes you have to be more involved. So he was calling like every day saying, "What are you doing for me today? Hey, this is late. Let's go." You know, and then in my opinion, having a written contract is never a bad idea. Even with my band, the Biddies, we had an interband agreement which was very clear about what would happen if somebody failed to fulfill their commitment. And we were all friends at the time, but one of us ended up leaving the band, and we had in the contract, you know, what happens if someone leaves the band. It was all legal. It was set out. It was very clean. It was clear. There was no, it was just there. It was there in black and white. So if, there is a person who is repeatedly not fulfilling their end of the bargain, you can always say, you can be nice for a while, but then just say, I'd really like to get this resolved. I can have my lawyer contact you. I know it's kind of playing hardball, but if you're at the level you are and that's what needs to happen, I think that's what needs to happen sometimes. But the other thing is I like being extremely clear up front with everybody, co-writing, recording, just everything. I like to be very clear about deadlines and about money and to just talk very frankly about it. I think a lot of people are afraid of those kind of conversations, but I have found that people respect me a lot more when I'm just very clear about the expectations of both parties and, that any overtime is going to cost XYZ, all that kind of stuff. So, and that just comes with doing it more and practicing it more. And, I'm sorry, Bree, if that's happening to you. That is a drag. Let's see, moving on. Let's go down here. Alex Fox, did you study music anywhere? If so, how did this help? I did. I studied music, with my piano teacher, Mrs. Berry, when I was young, the local strict piano teacher. Then I went to Brigham Young University and I studied classical music, but I also discovered jazz while I was there, and I got really into that, and I just went out a lot. Then I went to the University of North Texas and got an advanced degree in jazz, and then I moved to New York and have played and studied with a lot of other people. I have found it helpful for basic skills. I think that it's really helpful as a musician to have some basic skills, theory, ear training, sight reading, that kind of thing. But honestly, college also was helpful just because I jammed and played with tons of different people, and I took any gig that I could get. I really learned how to be a sideman at college. I played in a Tejano band in Texas, which was like, cumbia music in bars in Fort Worth, and I played in cover bands, and I played in weird tuba ensembles as an accompanist, and so I did study music, and it has really helped me a lot. And I think one thing it's helped me with is to not be afraid of theory and of musical language. I would encourage everybody to try to learn some basic theory, just not be afraid of it, just to dive in, learn a little bit. It's not rocket science, and a little bit can really go a long way. So, okay, let's see. Madeline Ertel says, as a piano songwriter, oh, hello, where did you first promote your music? It's not exactly a portable instrument, so it's hard to busk or play in coffee shops. True that. That's really true. And now I feel really spoiled because I mostly play in venues with nice pianos, so it's good. Keep the faith. But I definitely did tour in a minivan for a long time with my band where we just carted up the keyboard. Find a small portable keyboard that you can handle. I have a Nord Electro. It's pretty light. It has a backpack thing, and when you're young, you can handle the cartage. I also, after 9/11, I wanted something super portable, so I got a melodica, which I had around here somewhere. I don't know what I did with it. It's a little keyboard you can blow into that sounds like a harmonica, but you can't sing and play it at the same time. But I just wanted something to go. I wanted to go play for the workers down in the work sites near 9/11, and I wanted a portable instrument. So that was kind of helpful just to have something. So melodicas.com will hook you up. But just, I guess your question really was about promoting my music. So I'm a little confused about that, but it's hard to busk or play in coffee shops. In the beginning, I think you kind of just have to play wherever you can and just cobble it together however you can. I mean, I guess they call it paying dues, but like I said, I've played all kinds of places. In the beginning, I just said yes to everything that I could, and I learned the hard way. I learned just by doing and by falling down if I didn't know the song and just getting back up. And, I remember I played this one crazy club in Salt Lake where it was a misbooking. They had said jazz trio and with a singer, and so I started playing, and it turned out they wanted something totally different, and the manager took us back after 3 songs and fired us, and I was devastated because I was 21 and it was like my first official jazz gig, and I had gotten all dressed up, and he said, "I'm gonna do you guys a favor. You're gonna learn from this," and I did. I think you have to just kiss a lot of frogs sometimes, but just put yourself out there and have faith that, you know, if your music is good and your guys' music is good and you're honing it every day, that it will be heard by the right people. So just be, again, persistent, professional, and patient. I like stupid word games like that. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to scroll down the list. Mike Viola. Okay, hi Mike. Do you have a song reel that you use to get songwriting gigs, or do you just send a song based on the job you're looking for? Mike, I would like to have a song reel. I think that would be good. I just send a song based on the job that I'm looking for. And if they don't like it, sometimes I just send another song because I can be kind of annoyingly persistent. But I don't have a song reel, and I think that maybe I should, and maybe I can ask that back to Mike at some point if he has a song reel. I mean, my songwriting is I write to things that inspire me. So, for example, there was a movie that was looking for a song, and the scene was Jennifer Tilly was she was a waitress, and she was in love with this other woman who was Audrey Tautou, and she was like sweating into her food. That was the scene and they wanted her to be singing a song about this. So I wrote a song called I Sweat Too Much, and then they had sent me some specific lyrics to set the music to, and I kind of didn't like the lyrics, but I just did it anyway. And I tried a few different versions of that. They didn't like that. So then I just took matters into my own hand, and I wrote a song called Salt, which had a lot of double meanings to it. It was about food, it was about being attracted to someone, and that song was really just for me. It ended up on one of the Biddies albums, and they didn't end up using it in the movie, but I feel like I got a really good song out of it. So I kind of work better with specific assignments. But Mike, I'm going to call you because I want to make a song reel, and I want to know how to do it. So thank you for that question. This is from Mick Anderson. I often start writing songs in the shower or when driving, but by the time I can write any of my ideas down, I've forgotten. Do you have any tips on how to get back into that zone or remember your previous ideas? That's a good question. I tend to wake up with ideas in my head a lot of the time, so thus the notebooks everywhere. Obviously, you can't write in a notebook while you're driving. If you're with somebody, you could have your voice memo on, though. I use a voice memo all the time on my iPhone just to record ideas, and then I'll go transcribe them later. The other thing that I do sometimes is if it's kind of a hook, I'll just try to come up with a way to remember it. Like I'll just put some little words with it and I'll just sing it, if it's really good, if it's something I really want to remember, I'll just sing it to myself maybe 25 times. And then the first chance I get, I will go write it down somewhere. If you're in the shower, you have kind of an advantage because you can get right out of the shower and you can go write it down. Or you could even keep one of those tub crayons handy or something and write down the melody, or you could go immediately record it right afterwards. But the other thing I'll say about that is, at least in my experience, good ideas will always come back. If I forget something, um, maybe it's okay. You know, if it's like the most genius idea I've ever had, it will come back in some fashion or another, in another way. So I don't usually get too broken up if I forget something because I know that it'll be back in some form or another. Um, the other thing that is helpful with that is, like I said, keeping a writing notebook and just starting to write down everything, because then you just get really skilled at remembering things really quickly and writing them down really quickly. I do this project for Carnegie Hall called the Lullaby Project, and basically it involves collaborating with women in shelters at prisons, things like that, or teenage moms, writing lullabies for their babies. And usually our time is incredibly limited. It's, you know, we have 4-hour session with maybe 10 moms and a few of us, and we have to get songs from like nothing to letters to their baby to lyrics to song to harmony by the end of the session. So I've just honed the skill of transcribing things really quickly, even if you have your own weird system of notation. I know some of my piano students have very weird, like here's an arrow going up and then there's a B, and so just getting practice doing that will help you retain some of those song ideas. Haha, Jacob Derwin. Melodica, yes, I have one. You go, Jacob. Melodica's forever. Yay. All right. I'm going in no order, so I'm apologizing if I'm skipping some of yours. I'm just kind of grabbing them at random. Rosalind Schlafman says, any suggestions for singer-songwriters who want to pursue their dream but need to financially support themselves? Any lifestyles or jobs that you can recommend? Wow, good question. I would just say whatever your, like I was talking about earlier, let's say songwriting is your A job and you need to get a B job or even a B and a C job, possibly a D job, to support yourselves until your vision can support you. My suggestion for that would be just make a list. I actually did this. Make a list of things you like to do. Do you like to garden? Do you like to travel? Do you like pets? This kind of thing. Make a list, a big list, and then look for jobs that support the things on your list. And I learned this kind of the hard way. I was sitting down with some friends who were being really tough, and they're like, you need to get a job. It's New York. You're broke. And so I went out and I started applying for just these horrible jobs, like handing out magazines in the middle of August at 6 in the morning on the Upper East Side to apartment buildings, just anything on Craigslist I could get. And I was miserable, totally miserable. So then I tried a totally different tack, which was and this is an important thing for everybody, is to use who you know in the music business and in your life. Go through your contact list on your laptop, on your whatever, and see who you know that can help you. There was a woman that I knew, and she owned this business, or she had a friend who owned this business called Cross It Off Your List, and it was like running errands for people. So I started doing that, and then I found a guy who was a music and theater critic, and he needed a personal assistant, and he reviewed jazz music. So I kind of funneled it into that. Like, I was his personal assistant for a while, and he would give me CDs every week, and ended up reviewing a couple of my records, and just kind of looking for things to do that don't make you want to die. Nobody should be working in a job they hate. Nobody. I don't care what anybody says. There's a lot of abundance in this world. A lot of people have a lot of money, and there's no reason why we can't all have some of that. So I would say look for jobs that excite you, even if they're not something you exactly want. As a pianist, I've definitely taken a lot of gigs. I've played cocktail piano gigs. I played on cruise ships, which was actually super fun because I got to see the world. I was like in my 20s and traveling the world, playing in the band, and that was really fun. So just sit down, make a list, and be open to the universe. I'm kind of a cheesy person this way, but also be really open to synchronicity and be careful what you wish for. Um, just, I'm going to go off on a slight tangent, but in the Be Open to Things department, I'll just give you a quick example. I was in London and I was on tour with quite a large band, and I was a member of this like 14-piece band, and there were a couple of stars in the band, like Debbie Harry was singing and Elvis Costello was singing, but we didn't really associate with them too much as the band. But everybody, like the band, was getting on the plane to go back to the States, and I could not find my passport anywhere. And I was trying to be very zen about it because I was thinking everything happens for a reason, okay? Couldn't find my passport. I just kind of ambled over to the passport office. It was a really nice day, and I got a new passport in like a couple of hours. I don't know how that happened. And I went back to the hotel, and Elvis Costello was standing there in front of the hotel. And he's like, "Let's go get lunch." I said, "Okay." So we went and got lunch, and then we became friends, and then we started emailing. And I feel like that would never have happened if I hadn't lost my passport, and if I hadn't just said, well, everything happens for a reason. Or what if I had said no to lunch with him? I'm getting off on a bit of a tangent, but I think my point is just look for opportunities in your lives that will present themselves. If you are open, if you know what you want, and if you are willing to kind of do whatever you need to do to get it, just know that the universe will take care of you. That is my Zen moment of the day. Okay, moving on. We have like 13 minutes left here. Let's see. Who have I not? Allie Nicole, is it bad if your song is not entirely true? Ooh, that feels like a very black and white kind of question. Um, I don't think so, because I think that if you're writing from an authentic, I think, is it bad if your song is not authentic? Maybe. I think that people can tell when you're being really fake in a song. So even if you are collaborating with somebody and they're asking you to write about something that maybe you've never experienced before, you can still put a piece of yourself in there. But I mean, if all my songs were entirely true, I don't know. I would be living a crazy life if all the songs that I wrote had entirely true content in them. But I do think it's important that each of your songs has a piece of yourself in them that's a real part of yourself, I guess. I'm hoping that makes sense. The difference between true as in true content and authenticity. And even if it's in a genre you're not that crazy about and you're co-writing, I think you can still put your own stamp on it. You know, there are certain things, chords and things that I like that I feel like kind of define my sound, and I like to throw them in there whenever I can. But even if it's, I don't know, a song for hire or something like that, you could still try to be true to yourself. So maybe, I hate the word good or bad, but just strive to be true to yourself. Because otherwise, I don't know, things can be a drag, at least in my own opinion. Okay, who have I not answered yet? There's another one about writer's block. Erica Lashley, this is towards the bottom. What are your thoughts on using SoundCloud for posting original songs? How important is social media and promoting yourself online and getting further with songwriting? Well, good question, especially considering we're doing an online songwriting exchange. I think that in this day and age, it's pretty important. People want to see a presence online. They want to see how many likes you have. They want to be able to easily access your music. So I think it's pretty important. And this is some advice I need to take myself because I have not updated my website in a really long time. So I'm of a different generation than you guys. So I got onto the web stuff a little, I'm a little behind. But I think it's really important. I think these days you can be super creative in how you present yourselves. So I'm just going to say, how important is it? It's important. And do it. So that was easy. Conda Comedy. That is Caitlin, I think. For the art of collaboration activity, do you need to collaborate with someone on the exchange, or can you collaborate with anyone? Oh, I don't even think we've gotten there yet. Um, I don't even know. I would say it would be fun to collaborate with someone in the exchange if you can, but if you can't, just get whoever you can. Or you can certainly use Mike and I and Yasmin and run stuff by us if we have time. But it would be fun for you guys to try to team up and collaborate with each other, because part of the goal of this is for you guys to form relationships that last past the project. So hopefully that answered that question. One Mind, Two Sisters asks, yeah, can a songwriter be successful writing only lyrics, or is mastery of musical instruments critical? This is interesting to me. There are lyricists that are, I'm thinking actually of, like, for example, the co-writers of the song Frozen, Let It Go from Frozen. My friend teaches their kids piano, so she knows them. But, I think sometimes in a collaboration there will be a lyricist. There's certainly famous examples of that, lyricist with composer. So I think absolutely you could be a successful lyricist. That being said, I think, this is a tough one. I've collaborated with people who really didn't have any musical language whatsoever, and personally I found it difficult. I've also collaborated with people, for example, doing a film or something, and they have a certain, or jingles are kind of infamous for this, where they want a certain sound, but they don't know how to musically describe it. One time I had a person ask me to play More Orange. Like, okay, I don't know what that means, but it would have been helpful if they said, could you play it a little, like do a little crescendo there and maybe in a minor key. That would have been a little more useful for me. But I think that certainly you could be successful as a lyricist if it was what you really wanted to do. Just pick a good team member. And in my opinion, learning some basic musical stuff is never a bad idea. Let's see. I'm going to go down. Haha, this is funny. Mick Anderson. I tend to have difficulty remembering my own songs. Is this normal? Do I simply need to play them more? I think this is funny. I'm only laughing because my friend Leanne, who sings for my band, the Biddies, she has a tendency to forget her own songs on stage, and we're always kind of making fun of her for that, in a good-natured kind of way. So for me, practicing more definitely helps me not do that as much. That said, I think there are some songs, there are maybe some personalities where that just happens sometimes, and to go with the flow. And certainly if you can get comfortable improvising, it might be helpful, because then you won't be on stage going, you could just make something up. But yeah, sometimes I'll just sit down at the piano and like play through a few of my older songs just to make sure I still remember them, because I don't want to have that moment on stage of, because sometimes I'll play and somebody will call out a song. It's like, I haven't played that one in a while. So that's a good thing to do every now and then. Oh, hey, Anna Pearl. What's up, Anna Pearl? From Anna Pearl Belinda, I'm interested in making a CD, professional looking, with an actual plastic cover and a decent amount of songs. I don't even know where to get started. Advice. I've used CD Baby. I've had pretty good success with them. I've also just asked people on Facebook. If you know musician friends, I've crowdsourced it. Where do you guys go? Because usually there'll be somebody in your town that will have maybe a good recommendation for that. And there's a lot of great places these days that can do small runs of things for pretty cheap. So I hope that helped. Sorry, it's like we have 5 minutes, so I'm trying to just bust through these now. And I'm getting a message which probably says 5-minute warning. Yes, 5-minute warning. Ah! This is really fun, you guys. When did you know your career took off? From Mickey Lapin. I'm still wondering about that. I think that it's more a question of what defines success. And success to me is, am I happy Do I have a right livelihood? Am I doing what I like? Am I able to function in society and pay most of my bills? Yes. But I think as ambitious artists, we're always looking for the next step. And that's where using who you know comes in. Um, I've always wanted to play Austin City Limits. I've always wanted to play Town Hall. I've always wanted to, um, I don't know, maybe play with Prince or something. So, I always have these goals. So I think my career is always like this, is sometimes like this, is sometimes like this. It takes off, it goes back, it goes forward. It's like a living thing. So I just try to take it in stride, but I'm still working on it, hopefully till the day I die. Jacob Derwin, have you copyrighted all of your public songs? Yes, I have. It's a good thing to do. Copyright office. I'm not going to go into all the details, but somebody else asked me about PROs. I don't know who it was. It's up at the top somewhere. Like, what performing rights organization do I belong to? And if you don't know what that is, this is like more into a music business discussion, which maybe we could do one of sometimes, about copyright, about belonging to ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC. I belong to CSAC because at the time I was doing more jazz, and they were actually listening to all the submissions, and I could get somebody on the phone. And those are the people that are responsible for paying you. If your song is played on the radio, if your song is played live at an important venue, you can submit and get payment, which is, oh, there we go, from Kendra. Would I advise self-publishing versus contracts from publishers? I don't have a lot of experience with publishing, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I mean, I've usually put out records myself. I do have a jazz record label, and I gave them half my publishing at the time because I figured I had zero, and half of zero was zero for me, so it was kind of a win-win. But I made a contract with them. So again, I feel like these are more music business things that Yasmin, maybe we can take note and do like a music business 101 hangout at some point with maybe me and Mike or some other music business experts that could help answer some of these questions. Okay, I think we have time for, let's see, one more. Yasmin, you want to pick it? I'm gonna let her pick one more question. And while she's choosing, I will just say, it has been a pleasure letting you guys, allowing me to babble at you for an hour about my life. And I feel like there's so many questions that have gone unanswered. So if you still have questions, you can message me on Musical Exchange. You can friend me if you haven't on Musical Exchange. You can, definitely do all the activities on Musical Exchange. Don't forget to submit your song on Musical Exchange for the contest, which ends June 4th. I'm not seeing Yasmin posting anything, so I'll end with this one. Laura Bidner, what is the best way you have found that you've been able to get your music out to the world? Anyway. Just do it any way you can. Be brave. Take risks. Try to do one scary thing every day. I got my first record deal by just sending out packages to a bunch of people and having a lot of faith. That doesn't happen much anymore. But somebody took a chance on me, and I was brave enough to go have the meeting, being young, and just say yes. Play wherever you can. Play with friends. Make business cards, take them with you, make a demo, take it with you. Say yes to stuff even if you don't know how to do it, like fake it till you make it. I mean, when somebody asked me to be musical director for this thing on a movie, I had never done that before, but I just said, sure, I know how to do that. And then I just figured it out. So the best way to get music out in the world is like you're doing it. Just make music. Put it on Musical Exchange, share it with the world, share it with your friends. Keep writing. You guys are all doing it already. You guys are going to be fine. You guys are an awesome group of people. So with that, it is 10:30. I have been babbling for 1 full hour. My husband will not be surprised. but it's been that I could talk for an hour. But anyway, thank you guys so much. We'll try to get to these questions another time, and I will see you all on Musical Exchange. Okay? Keep writing. You guys are awesome. Your songs are great. Bye!